Hello, one-to-one Bible reading friends. Today I would like to answer the question, who is Melchizedek? Melchizedek is mentioned in Genesis 14, Psalm 110, and in our readings here in Hebrews. Melchizedek is a Canaanite king and priest in Salem, the future home of Jerusalem. This all happened pre-Israel, so even though Canaanite would go on to worship many gods, at this point it was ruled and led by Melchizedek, the king and priest. He may not have known God to the extent that Israel would know him as Yahweh, but he feared the actual creator God, and he loved him and he worshiped him. Melchizedek is seen as a forerunner of Jesus in the book of Hebrews. How? Well, first, we see him in both the roles of king and priest. Later on in Israel, the family line of Levi is where the priests would come from, and the kings would come from the family line of Judah. The same person would not serve in both roles. They would come from different family lines. But just like Melchizedek, Jesus would serve in both of these roles. Second, the text mentions that there was no record of Melchizedek's birth or death. Of course, as an actual human being, not God, Melchizedek was born and he did die at some point. But for our intents and purposes, the author is using him as an example to show us Jesus' eternality. We know we see him as being born and dying, but we also know he's the Son of God who has eternally lived in eternal past to eternity future. Now Jesus, as both king and priest, who has no beginning and no end, will continue to rule forever, interceding to God on our behalf as our Savior. In his infinite wisdom, God has used a somewhat obscure Canaanite king/priest to help us to understand Jesus' eternal role as our Savior. Hope that helps.